You said sorry again today for something that wasn't your fault. You held the door open. They didn't say thank you. You apologized. You bumped into a chair. You apologized. Someone else was late, and somehow you apologized. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not just being polite. You're trapped in a psychological survival script you never chose. And it goes deeper than you think. It goes back to witches, to wars, to invisible childhood ghosts. Let me explain. There's a strange story from 1692, Salem, Massachusetts. A young girl, Sarah Osborne, is accused of witchcraft. She's frail, poor, and unmarried. She doesn't cry or scream. Instead, she apologizes, not because she's guilty, but because she's terrified. You see, in her time, apologizing wasn't about manners. It was a survival tool, a way for the powerless to say, "Please don't hurt me." And centuries later, you're still playing the same game, except now it's not witches with pitchforks. It's bosses, it's partners, it's strangers on the subway. And somewhere deep inside, your nervous system is still whispering, "Stay small, stay safe." But why? Let's talk about a psychological secret called shame imprinting. Studies from the University of Toronto revealed something chilling. Children as young as 2 begin to apologize reflexively, not because they feel guilty, but because they've learned their safety depends on keeping others happy. Researchers placed toddlers in controlled mistake environments. A drop cup, a missed toy, a frown from a parent. And the result? Nearly 80% apologized automatically, even when they weren't to blame. Why? Because their nervous systems linked disapproval to danger, to abandonment, to punishment. So every "I'm sorry" you blur out, it's not just a word. It's a scar, a learned behavior from a time you couldn't even speak in full sentences. You didn't learn to apologize because you were wrong. You learned to apologize because it was safer than being real. Ever notice who apologizes most? A 2010 study from the University of Waterloo found women apologize more frequently than men, not because they mess up more, but because they're more likely to perceive their actions as offensive. That's not biology. That's conditioning. Historically, the ideal woman was polite, accommodating, and non-threatening. From Victorian etiquette guides to mid-century housewife manuals, the message was clear. Your value is in how little you inconvenience others. So every time you said, "Sorry, can I ask something real quick?" Or, "Sorry, I didn't mean to bother you," you were reenacting centuries of cultural survival tactics. And men, they're taught the opposite. Confidence equals power. Silence equals strength. Apologies equal weakness. The result? We build a society where the people most aware of their impact are the ones who feel guilty for existing. Fight, flight, freeze. You've heard those, right? But there's a fourth trauma response no one talks about. It's called fawn. It means you appease, you over-explain, you apologize, not to take responsibility, but to survive discomfort. It's the response of a child who learned, if I'm quiet enough, I won't get yelled at. If I say sorry first, maybe they won't be mad. If I make myself small, maybe I'll stay safe. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're just operating from a nervous system that's been hijacked by history. Let me tell you about one of the darkest psychology experiments ever run. Yale University. Psychologist Stanley Milgram runs a study on obedience. Participants are told to administer electric shocks to strangers. They're uncomfortable. They hesitate, but they continue. Why? Because someone in a lab coat said, "It's important. Please continue." Milgram discovered something terrifying. Most people would abandon their own moral compass if it meant avoiding conflict with authority. And in those moments, they apologized for causing pain, for hesitating, even though they were just following instructions. Sound familiar? We apologize for not fitting the mold, even when the mold is the problem. Here's a weird fact. Your body posture predicts your likelihood of apologizing. In a 2014 study, researchers at Columbia found that people in contracted postures, slouched, arms folded, hunched shoulders, were significantly more likely to say, "I'm sorry," unnecessarily. Why? Because your brain reads your body. It says, "We're small. We must be at fault." And your mouth follows. But if you open up your chest, stand tall, breathe deeply, your mind shifts. You stop begging for permission to exist. You start owning your space. The science is clear. Shrink your body. Shrink your voice. Expand your body. Reclaim your truth. Imagine this. You're 87. You've lived a whole life of small apologies. You've said sorry for your dreams, your voice, your presence. You've edited yourself in every room just to avoid discomfort. And one day, you whisper to no one, "I wonder what my life could have been if I stopped apologizing." What if that moment didn't have to come? What if you wrote a different script? One where sorry becomes thank you. Where "I'm sorry I'm late" becomes "thank you for waiting." Where sorry to ask becomes "I have a question." Where you stop apologizing for who you are and start being who you were always meant to be. This isn't about being rude. It's about being real. You don't owe the world a softened version of yourself. You don't need to apologize for taking up space, for being messy, for being human. The next time you catch yourself saying sorry when you don't need to, pause. Ask, am I apologizing to take responsibility or to avoid discomfort? Because the moment you stop saying sorry is the moment you start saying, "I'm allowed to exist." And that's the beginning of everything.